When I was a kid, I used to drive my parents mad. I must have been about 3 or 4 at the time. I was a curious little kid, like most kids are, and I would plague my mum and dad with the question, why? Why is the grass green, Mummy? Why is the sky blue, Dad? Why haven't we got enough money to buy all those things we want? Why? Why? Used to drive them absolutely bonkers, and they would turn round in the end and say, oh, stop asking questions, Richard. Which is a strange thing to do, because obviously a child has no knowledge and it wants to learn about the incredible and wonderful world that it's found itself in. But sometimes it can ask very awkward questions. You know, what were you doing last night in the bedroom? I heard some funny noises, which can be quite embarrassing, clearly. But a child is extremely inquisitive and wants to know things. And of course that should be nurtured. We should be nurturing those children so that they do find out more about it and keep them asking these questions naturally. But it seems that as you get older, the inquisitive nature of our mind is often shut down by society. That may not be on purpose, but it can be a nuisance when somebody is saying, why do we have to do it this way? Wouldn't it be better to do it that way? You know, at school, teachers often say, shut up and just get on with the work. Don't ask too many questions. Or in the office, you know, we've always done it that way. There's no point trying to change things. But asking questions is a fundamental way of learning things. Scientists know that. They come up with a hypothesis, don't they? And then they challenge people to ask questions that might disprove what they've come up with so that they can learn more. We know that, for example, there is big science in, say, climate change. That's something that, of course, people like to ask questions about, or used to, until we were told that the science is settled. And I never quite understand how any science can be actually settled when there's the possibility of, by asking a question, that you might find a different way of looking at things. Oh, and of course, the settled science was something that happened during the pandemic. There was only one science that told us about the virus. You may remember we were told how the virus was working this way, and there was absolutely no point of asking any questions about it. In fact, if you did ask any questions about it, you were immediately shut down and told to shut up. There was other medicines that we could have looked at. Ivermectin, I believe, is one, and many others, vitamin D. But no, don't ask questions about that. We have a super medical thing coming out, implementation that we're going to inject in you. That's the only thing that can do it. And when that rolled out, this miracle experimental drug, how many people were actually asking, is it really the only possible answer? Why is that the only possible answer? When it was rolled out so incredibly fast, were people asking, how come that's able to be released so incredibly fast? What is the research? Why, for example, was all the research kept a little bit secret? Why were the trials not open to the public? Why have we had to really bang on doors to get some of these answers? To me, all of that seemed very suspicious at the time, and now, in retrospect, as we look back, you can see why it was suspicious. Asking questions and being a nuisance when we're asking those questions is, of course, valuable. I mean, we look to journalists to do a lot of those questions for us, don't we? And I remember during the pandemic, there was the dishevelled Prime Minister trying to answer so-called questions, and yet the people asking the journalists, never seem to be asking the questions that me as a viewer wanted to ask. For example, during the lockdown, people were saying, why don't we lock down more? And I wanted to say, why are we lockdowning at all? What is the merit of that? Why aren't people allowed to get out into the sunshine? Why can't people use other medications? Why can't people go to their doctors? Why are people told to stay at home until they're almost half dead, and that's the only time they could go to see their doctor? I just felt that the right questions were not being asked. If you had a difference of opinion, for example, and you would question the validity of the vaccine, you were shut down and told to shut up and you can't question it. What kind of society is it that will shut people down for asking a question? As I mentioned at the beginning, asking a question can lead to an answer. It might not be the truthful answer, it might not be the most beneficial answer, but it might get you to understand things. When a society stops you from asking questions, you then have to ask, why do they want you not to ask those questions? When you go to the MP and you say, look, I know that there's been harms with this vaccine, and they turn around and just simply say, no, it's safe and effective. Why do they keep saying it's safe and effective when clearly you look elsewhere than from the mainstream media and the government, that it clearly demonstrates that it can't be safe and effective? It may be effective and safe for some people, but clearly not for everybody. Why does the government not want to talk about it? These are another legitimate questions. Now, it's curious because when I walk around the town and I see people, they seem very much happy to just simply comply. We saw that during the pandemic when they were putting on the masks. And I was asking, why are we wearing the masks? What is the science that says they actually do something? We now know, of course, that was a load of old hokum, that these masks can't possibly help you. The virus, if there was such a thing, is too small to penetrate, is smaller than the holes in the mask, so it would be easy. And also you've got airways coming in here. There would be no way that it could protect you. Why was that illusion given? What was the point? Questions. We must ask questions. And it's funny, isn't it? When you're with company and somebody asks a question and you think, oh, I never thought of that. I never thought of asking that before. Why do we do that? Is it that we've been trained to comply all the time? It's an easier life, isn't it, if we don't ask those questions, if we just shut up. You know what it's like if you're in a restaurant and the food isn't quite very good and you just sort of shut up and you don't question, why is my dinner slightly cold? Why is the plate freezing cold? Why is that not cooked? Why is it costing so much? You know, we get a bit embarrassed about asking questions. But I think that in the times that we're living in now, where so many things like the 15-minute cities is coming in, why is that really for our benefit? Is it really about security and making sure that people are safe on the streets? Or is there another reason? And what could that reason be? Or what about the digital IDs that the government are trying to put in? Why is that really convenient for us? Is it really convenient for us? Or is it more convenient for them? What could be the possible use for it? Why do we have to go into a completely digital world? Why can't we stay more free? Why is it that we're not going to have the ability to spend cash? Why have we got to have a central bank digital currency? Why can't we come up with smaller banks for the community? Why? We should be asking so many more questions, shouldn't we? We should be questioning everything. Why is it going in this direction? Does it not seem to you and me that life is becoming a little bit more tyrannical, that the government are making decisions we've not asked for? Why are they making those decisions? Why are they not asking us? Why have they not come to the country and said, look, we would like to offer this to you? And what, instead of that, why are they just pushing it through? It's so important, I think, to continually question everything rather than just shrugging and going, oh, well, that's the way life is. Oh, well, that's the government, isn't it? They're always doing things that they haven't consulted us. But we should be saying, hang on a minute. No. Hold on. Why? Why are you doing this? It may genuinely be for a good reason. I'm not saying it isn't, but we should definitely be asking why. We should have that, what would you call it? The confidence to stand up and say, look, I know this sounds ridiculous, but can you actually tell me why you want us not to have cars? Why we can't have the freedom to travel the country as many times as we like? Why global warming is really such a difficult thing? Why is the science settled? Why should we stay off the countryside because there's a bit of bird flu? Why should we be doing these things? Should we not get in touch with our MPs and ask our members of parliament more and more and more? Why? Why do you want us to do this? Why should we pay our parking tickets? Why should we pay council taxes? Why should we do these things? Give us the answer. Explain to us in more detail, because we should be like those little children, inquiring minds saying, hang on a minute, this is our future you're shaping. Why? And why have we given you the power to shape our future? Just ask that question. Why?